me.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. I want to thank everyone for being here and joining me before this council session. I want to thank my colleague, Councilman Curtis Jones. I want to thank my colleague, Councilman Derek Green, but also I want to thank the Mayor, Jim Kenney, for also being here. Today is an exciting day. Yesterday we had an opportunity to negotiate with the courts to change Criminal Rule 528, which is the elimination of the 30% bail fees, which are withheld from individuals who do everything that they're supposed to be doing when it comes to meeting their court dates, but nevertheless, they still do not recoup the 30% of their bail fees that they put up. And so some time ago in February, I did a town hall meeting on reforming our cash bail system with State Representative Joanna McClinton. And during that time, there were individuals and advocates who were outraged regarding our current system here in the city of Philadelphia, which pretty much was considered to the city of Ferguson, where our criminal justice system was balancing our checkbooks on the back of poor people. And so we began working with the mayor's office, the managing director's office, but most importantly, the Criminal Justice Advisory Board to find ways to eliminate that 30% bail fee. I want to take a moment to acknowledge some individuals, and I'm going to ask some individuals to come up and speak, but really this was an effort that was led by advocates on the ground. I just want to take a moment to acknowledge individuals who are here. We have Mike Lee from the District Attorney's Office. Can we give him a round of applause, please? We have Hannah Sassman from the No 215 Jails Coalition. Give her a round of applause, please. We have Reverend Gregory Holstein from Power. We definitely know who he is. Give him a round of applause. And he's also joined by Pastor Nick O'Rourke. Give him a round of applause. Young lady by the name of Naisa, who's a part of the ACLU. We want to thank her for her advocacy as well. Give her a round of applause. And in the managing director's office, we have a new person who's steering the ship, and we expect great things from her, and we're going to be partnering with her. That's Ms. Vanessa Garrett Harley. Give her a round of applause. And we want to give credit where credit is due. Under the leadership of Council President Darrell, Clarke, and the mayor and Councilman Curtis Jones, they created the Criminal Justice Advisory Board. And there's a staff member who my office worked closely with on this particular issue, is Julie Wertheimer. Where's Julie at? Give Julie a round of applause for just stepping up. You know, for me, when we talk about criminal justice reform, and I believe that, you know, justice has to be just and fair, and you still hold individuals accountable, but it can't be a system that favors one group of individuals versus another, and particularly when you talk about the economic impact of using cash bail to detain individuals. We know some people have the ability to make cash bail in a timely fashion and some people don't, but we want to use more progressive ways in making sure people come to court. And it was at this town hall hearing that our chief defender, Ms. Keir Bradford-Grey, could we give her a round of applause? This young lady, I think she actually was the one who sent a letter to the court some time ago and said, this policy is totally unfair. And I remember at the town hall meeting, she said, Councilman, if we're going to be a progressive city, there are other ways that we can address this issue. And so what I would like to do in terms of asking individuals to come up, first I want to have, let me do these things in decency and order. I would like for Mayor Jim Kenney to come up, then I would like for Keir Bradford to come up, and I would like for my council president, Darrell Clarke, to come up. And this has always been a team effort. Curtis Jones held hearings for the elimination of cash bail, and also Councilman Darrell Green stepped up to the plate. He also had hearings regarding reforming the bail system, and so I definitely want to make sure that they're part of this process. But I'm going to ask for Mayor Jim Kenney, who has been working to eliminate prisons here in the city of Philadelphia, to please come on up.
Let me hold it. Thank you, Councilman Johnson. And to all of the friends from City Council are here, and Judge Tucker and Keir Bradford-Grey, and along with representatives of the First Judicial District and other criminal justice partners and community members who are here today. I'm grateful for the leadership that Council members Johnson, Jones, and Green and Council President Clarke have shown on this specific matter, as well as the larger issue of criminal justice reform. For the past several months, our administration and all the members of the CJAB, the Criminal Justice Advisory Board, had positive conversations concerning the elimination of the 30% bail deposit fee. We came to realize that cash bail itself is inherently unfair, and we're working together to eliminate our reliance on it. But to withhold 30% of posted bail, even when folks comply with all court requirements, can be devastating financially to Philadelphia's families who are, as we know, living in poverty, many of our families. And it had to change. So we appreciate the willingness of all stakeholders, particularly the courts, and have shown in recent months to consider this reform. And we're thankful that we've been able to achieve this positive result. I am certain that this change is one of the many that can reduce racial, ethnic, and specifically economic-based disparities in the criminal justice system. And it is in line with our joint effort to safely reduce the jail population by 50% by the year 2020. Progress is often evident in small steps. This one is such a small step. The economic impact may be small, but the message it sends is a large one. The system needs to be fair, and it needs to be just, even for those who don't have the means to stand up for themselves. So I want to thank everyone who's involved, but I want to clear something up. I mean, this 30% cash bail went to the city general fund. We did not budget it in this year's budget considerations. We always thought it was going to be eliminated, and we're thankful to the court for the FJD for ruling the way they did and passing the rule to change the ability to hold on to 30% of those proceeds. People are living in poverty in the city. Some of those folks who are living in poverty are also involved in the criminal justice system, and we want to make sure that we don't hold on to money that could be used to buy food and pay rent, pay utility bills and the like, and to potentially put people on the street. So we want to thank everybody involved, and I want to thank our council members for continuing to push hard on this, and I want to thank you all for being here. And this is another great step in the way, in a way to reform our criminal justice system and make criminal justice fair for everyone. So thank you all for being here.
Good morning. I want to thank everyone involved in this. This is a very collective and collaborative effort to advance our criminal justice reform in the city of Philadelphia. I think I am so proud to be here in this moment because we're looking at issues that were once considered taboo. Criminal justice reform was not on the menu. It was not something that our public officials were willing to even utter. But now we have people willing to understand the intricacies and how the criminal justice system impacts people's lives. And we're doing it not just with our elected officials, but we're engaging community in meaningful ways. Community that are here today, and I don't want to name names, but I'm going to say a few, and I may miss some, but I don't want you to think that you're not important in this effort. No 215 Jail Coalition, Power has been amazing partners in this effort to reform our city and reform our justice system, because they understand the impact that it has on the people that they represent. They understand the impact it has on people like us, working people. Those are the people that are trapped in our justice system as well. So I applaud people for being brave and taking on these issues, and I thank our courts for being progressive, because without them, we would not be here. So Philadelphians now will have an opportunity to get back their full cash bail deposits at the completion of their cases. Changing this rule is long overdue and comes thanks to a strong partnership between community members, the community's lawyers at the Defender Association, and their public officials. Like so many reforms to our city, and particularly our criminal justice system, this improvement started with a community conversation. Picture that, community coming up with the solutions. I would like to thank Councilman Kenyatta Johnson and State Representative Joanna McClinton for convening the town hall, for hearing the concerns of the advocates and community members about bail fees, and for taking action on this issue. Addressing bail fees is a critical step on a path towards completion of elimination of cash bail in Philadelphia. Even now, so many Philadelphians are sitting in jail because they can't afford their bail. Working together can create change, empower communities to play a more active role in our criminal justice system, and stop routinely incarcerating people pre-trial. I want to thank President Councilman Clarke and Councilman Jones for giving me the opportunity to serve on the Criminal Justice Reform Committee, where we expose and bring issues to light that used to be non-transparent. The transparency in this system is what is allowing us to move forward and advance together, and that takes a lot of effort and that takes a lot of bravery. So thank you. And of course, a special thanks to our Mayor, Jim Kenney, because without his leadership in speaking out on these issues, I don't think these would also be possible. Thank you so much.
Yeah, the budget man. Good morning. First, I would like to thank all of the people that are involved. As was said, this was a collaborative effort. When people work together, good things always happen. I gotta thank my two colleagues, three colleagues, but two in particular, Councilman Jones, because you were engaged in this when it wasn't fashionable, way back then. And then Councilman Johnson came along as the young Turk on the council, and he got engaged, bringing his knowledge of working out in the streets as young people. We brought all kinds of aspects in, and the mayor has always been fighting for equity. As elected officials, it's our responsibility to have an equitable application of whatever we do, be it housing, be it services, and in this particular case, be it reform. Too often, in a lot of parts of the city of Philadelphia, justice meant just us, right? And those of you know what I mean, right? And the fact that we're working on this very critical issue is so important. So I want to thank Keir and all of you, Your Honor. I just want to thank all you guys so much for your work, Power, all of the advocates who have been working out there diligently in the vineyards and making sure that we apply this in a fair and equitable way, and to make sure we turn this whole thing around. So to all of you, thank you so much. I guess it's my job as the budget man to make sure that that was a small part of this. You know, you got to make sure the money's there, and you know. But at the end of the day, I just want to congratulate everybody involved, and this is step one, because we're going to move forward and continue to have an equitable application as it relates to the law. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So he'll, you know, I guess I'm going to give him the title, probably the father of the bail reform movement. And so my good friend and my colleague, I just wanted to give him a special invite up because he was on his ground, as Council President already said, when it wasn't the fashionable thing to do. So Councilman Curtis Jones, come on up, and then Councilman Derek Green.
So there are two types of people in government. There are those who want to save souls, and they want to put their arms around everybody and make them whole along with society. And then the other side of it is those who want to save money. And I won't describe which of my colleagues are which, but I will only say that in this case, both of them work together. We are saving money, and we are saving souls. This young man, Councilman Johnson, we can call him the Young Turk if you want, seized on a difference between, you can make a difference by passing laws, or you can just simply get in a room, negotiate, and change policies. And this was not the first time he spearheaded that. We had a hearing on, and it was former Commissioner Bethel, and it was on juvenile fees and fines. And former commissioner went off for about, I think, a tirade of 15 minutes. We shouldn't be doing this to kids. We shouldn't be doing this to poor parents. We shouldn't. And he was really livid about the bail and the fees and stuff. Councilman Johnson pulled everybody in the room. Well, first, he introduced a resolution that the department felt might force them into a situation. But he was able to work with a mayor and a department that really wanted to do something and eliminate it. And for you and I, it doesn't matter. It's seamless because we aren't involved. For people struggling to get out from under, having to choose between how to heat and how to eat, it is a big deal. And so these small steps create a direction that the city of Philadelphia is going, and I'm very proud to be a part of that. I call them the Justice League because all of them have different powers that come together and really make a difference in our community. So thank you.
Good morning. It's a true pleasure to be here this morning to acknowledge this true collaboration between all branches of government, from our mayor and executive branch and all the leadership that he's done in reference to this issue, the council president, as well as all the advocates who've been mobilizing regarding this issue, as well as the First Judicial District taking a step to change the rules to make this change. But I have to single out my colleagues, Councilman Kenyatta Johnson, who's been involved in criminal justice issues long before he even got elected. His advocacy for his organization he created, Peace Not Guns, he's been really in the vineyard to try to address the issue of crime and violence in our city for a long time. And then my other colleague, Councilman Curtis Jones, as was stated earlier, was really the first in council to really talk about this bail issue. So with those two colleagues, as well as our council president, really taking the initiative to address this issue has been a real collaborative effort, working with all of the branches of government as well as the advocates to really move forward on this issue. So from my perspective, I had hearings on how do we create and establish a bail fund in the city of Philadelphia. And based on efforts like this, we're getting to a point where that will not be needed. And for me, trying to establish a bail fund or do more work to help the people providing bail resources was important, because I remember my time as an assistant district attorney in Philadelphia and wondering why we had these type of issues like this 30% fee, and how that's really not just a need for criminal justice reform, but also an economic justice issue. And I remember a young lady who came and testified at the hearing, and she talked about, and it was a scuffle on her street, and because she looked young, the officers thought she was involved in this melee, and so she got arrested. And if it was not for the bail fund, she would have been in jail for probably 30, maybe 45 days and would have lost her job. And there's a number of people that have been in that same situation who are in this situation at the wrong time, may get arrested and eventually get released, but because they don't have the resources to provide bail, they may end up losing their job and not be able to provide for the families. So this is not just a criminal justice reform issue, but an economic justice issue. And when you think about the issues we have of poverty in the city of Philadelphia, steps like today is really a way that we can address these issues to not only make reform in our city, but also provide economic justice. So I want to thank all the people here, all the people who have been involved in this process for your leadership, and so we can move our city forward. So thank you.
So before we open up for questions, I want to also acknowledge just Judge Tucker, Leon Tucker. Let's give him a round of applause for just being here. He's not here to speak, but if the press has any questions regarding the technicality of the rule change, the criminal rule 528. He can answer those specific questions, but I want to ask for Hannah from the No 215 Jails Coalition to come up here just for a second to say a few words. Where are you, Hannah? I know I put you on the spot. Because listen, we're politicians, right? And we do the job that the people put us in office to do. So really the most powerful voice in this case, for me, is the advocates. And so Hannah, come on up and say a few words about your work and why this is so important. So go ahead.
Thanks so much. Thank you so much, Councilman Johnson, to everyone who worked on this issue and everyone here today. The story that the councilman just told was of Joanne Powell, who was a Mantua mother, 10-year-old, worked as a school lunch lady. And then when she came out of jail, after the support of the Community Bail Fund brought her home, she really started to focus on how to end violence and build community in her streets of Mantua. And I just want to note that both through the Community Bail Fund, through the advocacy of No 215 Jail, through the work of the Philly Coalition for a Just DA, we see the thousands of people who are up on State Road when they come home really fighting for a chance to transform this city, which I know is the commitment that all of us have. So we're really grateful for this one step, this one really important step in returning those resources home. We also mark that it's just one step, that we still have over 40% of people who are seen, as the ACLU brought up in their letter that they recently sent to the courts, over 40% of the people who are seen at arraignment are still paying a money bail. 1 out of every 4 of those is over $50,000. And so what we need to do is try to work together with the First Judicial Court, with every partner in the city, all of the leaders here and all of the leaders across this wonderful city, to truly end the process of wealth-based detention, and not just to end money bail, but to also make a commitment, as I know our city is making, to send far, far, far more people home, where they can give to their communities, get the resources they need to thrive, and really just transform criminal justice. I'm really excited to have been asked to speak. That was a surprise, I would like to note. We definitely have questions both about how 528 is going to roll out, so glad that Judge Tucker is here, as well as on Rule 910 that was eliminated yesterday, which I hope we can talk a little bit about. But we're looking forward to continuing to partner with all of you to end mass incarceration in the city of Philadelphia. Thanks so much.
So at this time, we're going to open it up for questions from the press. Mr. Tucker, Your Honor, come on up, sir.
Morning.
Good morning.
I was. Well, 910 basically, you're talking about the detainer rule. Yeah. For a long time, the partners involved in the criminal justice system realized and appreciated that the rule wasn't being followed. Basically what we were doing was to accommodate one another, the Defenders Association, private counsel, district attorney's office, and the courts. So I guess it was back in March or so when the Defenders Association and the courts got together, and we're still meeting. So we rescinded it. And we're in the process now of putting together another rule that would take its place, that would be more in tune with what we're actually doing. That is lodging detainers only when absolutely necessary. Right now we have what we call the Big Five, the rape, the murder, and those type of things when the person is on probation or parole and there's a new arrest. As a matter of fact, for the safety of the community, oftentimes a judge will lodge a detainer. And that detainer is lodged, and then there's several hearings, a Gagnon 1 hearing, a Gagnon 2 hearing, to determine whether or not the detainer should be lifted, and then that's the way it goes. So moving forward, that's our intention. I can't go into too much more detail because we're still in the process of meeting. As a matter of fact, we have a meeting Tuesday with all of the partners involved in the detainer issue, and hopefully we'll resolve something then. That's my understanding as well. And while I do not agree with it, it's my understanding about 55% of the people that are incarcerated in our county prison are there because of detainers. And some of those detainers, candidly, have been there for a long time. And we're in the process of trying to resolve them. Usually what will happen is if a person is arrested, and convicted and on probation or parole, the individual is supervised by the probation and parole department. And after that, if there's a new arrest, depending on what that arrest is for, and as it relates to the safety of the community, the judge who is supervising that person, whether they deem that person to be a hazard to the community or someone who may be a hazard to themselves or public safety, then the detainer is lodged. But more times than not, I think it's only about 5% or so of the individuals who are on probation or parole that a detainer is lodged. Now, mind you, there is approximately 40,000 people in Philadelphia County that are under judicial supervision. Now, it's a different story and a different conversation if that's right or wrong, but nonetheless, that's the fact. And those people that are that have detainers lodged against them come from that 40,000 people. And, you know, I don't have at the tip of my hand right now how many people are on detainers right now, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of around 55% of the individuals who are in judicial custody.
If you don't mind, right, and as we work on the detainer issue, can we, at least for this particular conversation, take questions specifically around the bail and Rule 528? Because that's why he was asked to come, not to speak on detainers.
Yeah, but I don't mind. I mean, if I have the answer to the question, I'll give it up. But out of being completely transparent, that's what's going on in the detainer issue. Are there any other questions regarding bail?
How much was being collected for this 30% a year? How's the money being collected?
You know, I'm not certain what that number is. I'm certain.
$3 million.
Okay, and it's my understanding, now, it was said previously that the bail was being, that portion of the bail was being paid and on the backs of poor people. Well, candidly, that money was passed through to the city's general fund. So, no, the First Judicial District didn't keep one dime of that money. And when the courts found out that the city did not want or need that money, that's the basis of the rescinding of the rule for the 528, rather. Any other questions? Well, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tucker. Any questions for the mayor before we leave? Well, we want to thank everyone for being here, and again, thank all the advocates in addressing Rule 528. Thank you very much.
I came in a little late. Can I just get a quick comment, really, on
Sure,
what this is all about, really?
So yes, I've been working